Hope you're having a very merry Frontiersmas, everybody in the chat. What Sonic Frontiers song do you want to hear next? While we wait for the countdown to finally end, though I am still here, but I just need to breathe for a couple seconds. But yeah, what song do you want to hear next? Happy Frontiers Eve or Frontiersmas. It's always going on. Oh my god. Well, the first thing I heard was Starfall Island's theme, so I'm gonna take it, and then I'll play I'm Here. It should bring us to the stream. Man, this song really underscores my anxiety for the reviews. Chat, give us your predictions out of 10. What you think Sonic Frontiers will be received as. Chat, I think you're right. What's cool is everyone's kind of saying the same thing. We all feel it. No more time for anxiety. It's time to be hype. We gotta mix it up, you know?
I'm standing on the border of everything. Listen close. Can you hear the spirits sing? Lost messages of long ago.
I remembered my muted mic. I remembered it. Anyway, hey, as always, shout outs to Ryan for the incredible intro. And I actually remembered to play it at the right time. Almost forgot to unmute my mic. I have to apologize. We didn't let I'm Here run all the way through. So I feel like I need to play the rest of it. At least the short version. But who is hype? Who is hype? Tell me what you're feeling with one word in the chat, guys. It could be hype. Could be nervous. It could be feeling like you're here. A lot of reviews are going up right now, and we're gonna watch them, react to them, read them. Mostly read. Confident hype. All right, guys, let me get back some Starfall Islands on, because this is nice background music. So let's see a couple of reviews probably should have come up right now. Let's see, get them on my screen here. Give me a second. Wow, 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 wow. Oh geez, okay. The camera is bigger than I think I intended. It's not what it was supposed to look like, but I think I'm having a issue with, like, when I adjust this one, I think the other one's, yeah, the other one's smaller. Why is that happening? I don't know. Streaming is hard. Oh well, I could just grab it and adjust it as I see fit. So let's see. Oh look, we already have some reviews. I don't know when these came in or if they were already in, but I'll read the short ones. Why not? This one's 85 out of 100. Frontiers boldly plants one foot into the future with its open zone structure, while keeping the other stuck in the past with mechanics and level ideas that are over a decade old. I mean, that is how you walk forward, right? One of your feet is back while you support your weight into the next step. I feel like it'd be weird if it didn't incorporate things from the past. Anyway, carrying on. This approach results in a satisfying game, even if it does not push the series into as many new frontiers as it could. Could always be better. It still hits many of the right notes that longtime fans will appreciate, and works especially hard to satisfy those who have felt like the past few Sonic games have been missing some personality. Hey, that sounds like a good review. 1 star. We gotta read this one. Let's see. So we'll definitely read more of Gaming Trend. But let's look at this one. Digital Trends. 1 star. All right. It's gonna be spicy. While not outright broken like Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The funniest thing about bringing up 06 is, like, the title of it, that as we name it, right? The year is in the name. The year is in the name. Okay, or Sonic Boom. That's not made by the same people. I just want people to review the games that know what they're talking about. That's all. Sonic Frontiers is a heavily misguided game that muffles good ideas with questionable narrative, technical and gameplay design decisions. There's a full review that I definitely want to read, because that sounds so fun to read in all the wrong ways. But you know, let's read this one. This is what I want to read. I want to read the nice one. Running in the right direction. That's what we like to see. Oh, by the way, I've played the game in full. I'm not gonna spoil anything for you guys, but my resistance to, or my reaction to these reviews is based entirely on my full-fledged experience with the game. So it's not me just defending something before I've had the chance to kind of experience it. No. That the beginning of that review that I read, I very much so do not vibe with as someone who has played the game. So let me make that clear. All right, so let's do some reading. And I'm gonna make it like I'm gonna zoom in so you can actually like really read it. Yeah, there we go. Let's read along. This guy looks nice. And I mean, I like him because I already read the beginning. All right, anyway, Sonic, Amy, and Tails have made their way to the Starfall Islands, where the Chaos Emeralds have mysteriously made their new, made the new home upon arrival. However, the three are sucked into cyberspace. We already know the story. We already know the story. Everyone knows that there is no subject in gaming more sensitive than Sonic. I'm glad you're ready. So Gaming Trend has brought in 2 accredited Sonic professionals for a double review. Good. Sonic is hard to understand. It's been wacky. It's wacky. But the thing is, there's ample people who understand. You know what I mean? Like, so I get it. It's weird. Like we all of us here know that Sonic is like weird, but we like it because it's different. What's the score? It was like 85 out of 100, but we're reading why they think so. David Flynn and Jack Zustiak have teamed up to talk about Sonic's latest adventure. Jack, Sonic runs in many different directions and defines himself in many different ways. 5 years have passed since Sonic's last jaunts were released. Due to that time gap, Sonic Frontiers not only marks the latest entry in the franchise, but also it provides an increasingly elusive glimpse into the current direction of Sonic. That's important because if there's one thing that everyone seems to have an opinion about, it's where Sonic should be running. True? I carry my own bundle of anxieties over where the blue critter has been and where he should go. I like how understanding this is starting. I love this. You may be expecting a critique of the new Sonic game, and that's here, of course, but what I'm really reviewing today is the state of Sonic's soul. Wow, okay, I'm down. Frontiers offers a surprising amount of insight into that subject. I recognize not everyone cares about this abstract melodrama. Whoa, the understanding here is like shocking me. Like, this is insane. Like, maybe it's not so much the understanding that's surprising me here. I think it's really cool how the first review I'm reading, it's surreal, I think is the word I want to use, because I was a kid growing up reading reviews that were clearly out of touch of the narrative side of Sonic, because the focus was gameplay. How does Sonic feel? The game feel, because moving fast, that's all of that was the focus. And I mean, gaming in general has taken a huge narrative focus, right? Like some games, some of the best games are almost carried by their narrative entirely. And so now reviewers are like, oh, well, now I actually have to like critique the narrative as part of the game experience. So this is good. And I'm glad we have a game where they can actually, prove that they care. All right. Where's the proof that cartoon hedgehogs even have souls? Nearly as much as I do. Abstract melodrama, nearly as much as I do. However, so I'll get to the point. Sonic Frontiers has one foot noticeably stuck in the past, but overall takes many promising steps towards the future. So I already addressed that. I think it kind of makes sense. It should be kind of... Gameplay should be first, but like it's the experience that's first, right? The narrative kind of pulls you to... and motivates you to do tasks. So it's just as important as like every piece comes together. Gaming is so cool because like I studied theater performance, and so I studied theater performance because it was the thing that was within reach for me. I couldn't program for the life of me, but it combines as many art forms together as possible, and I couldn't choose just one. And gaming is like that, but even on an extra layer, because you're considering player input, right? It has to be flexible enough to kind of, it would be like making a theater show, but you would expect there to be one audience member that can do whatever they want, and all the actors have to be ready to deal with that. And you can already imagine how much more complicated that would be. And I think it's really hard to say that like gameplay is the most important part of a video game, because gameplay is largely motivated by game story, right? Like, think of the best games in gym class. The best games in gym class are the ones that like engage everybody equally, but also kind of have some sort of like something relatable to it. And I think that's really important. So it's game experience, and all of the elements, music, controls like player controller, all come into account. So I don't know if I can fully say like gameplay first, because gameplay kind of includes music a little bit and sound design a little bit. Like it's a wishy-washy blurred line to say that. I think game experience is the clearest we can be, and clearly the reviewer here understands that, because he's starting with talking about the narrative as well. If I were to pinpoint, let's get back to it. If I were to pinpoint the aspect of Sonic games that initially hooked me, I would say it's their sincerity. Sonic is filled with meaning that most characters like him do not approach. Did I write this? Did I write this? This is insane. Characters like Mario were designed to be abstract vehicles for players to control games. The game design process itself drove the character Mario became. Sonic differed by being designed from the start to be a specific character and convey specific messages. Sonic games go out of their way to include distinctive music, themes, and stories that propel Sonic beyond being just a game. I was just saying that. Guys. I can't believe this is happening. These aspects separate Sonic from his platforming contemporaries while also helping the character to endure in people's hearts. Guys, I'm gonna cry again. And it's for the same reason. I can't believe people understand it. Modern Sonic games retain some of those distinctive elements of sincerity, yet in some ways they also work very hard to mute them. Plenty of people will make the argument that Sonic got bad or whatever, but I more or less disagree. The things people regularly beat Sonic down for are actually his strengths, his experimental nature. I'm a baby. Guys, jeez. No, I'm not. Nope. His characters, his world, his themes, messages, soundtracks, and designs are all part of what... I can't do this twice on the channel. I can't do this. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm not gonna do it. Still, he's getting into the negative, all right? So it's not gonna happen. No, no one's crying. It's not happening. Still, the nature of bigger business demands that you try to please everyone. The music, it's the music. The music's too emotional. We need something, we need the music's too emotional. I need, let's see. Let's get something like upbeat, like cyberspace. What's cyberspace stages? We don't even know the songs yet. I need just anything, any cyberspace. Give me. No one ever said that ever. Any cyberspace ever. Just yeah. Okay, it's great. Great. This is great. I'm gonna whatever this is. It's gonna do much better for me. Where is the review? Okay. Sorry, the bigger business thing got me because like. It's Sonic is a product in the end, and that's the struggle. That's what the struggle is. The corporate side, I always try to make that division. So it's really surreal. I'm like freaking out right now. Okay, for Sonic, this often translates into playing things safe. He needed to stick with gameplay that the developers knew people liked. The stories had to stop being about anything substantial, and the focus had to be narrowed to Sonic. And at most, give a tertiary view of his core cast and friends. When we last left Sonic, he was arguably at his safest. We had an admittedly very well done throwback game in the classic Sonic style that Sega knows people liked with Mania. And a modern Sonic game that went back to the gameplay style that 3 of the prior 4 Sonic games had done with Forces. They even threw classic Sonic into Forces for extra safety. I can't believe how accurate this is. Regardless of whether or not you think Sonic Mania is the greatest Sonic game ever made, or whether or not you think Forces was the worst Sonic game ever, they pose an existential dilemma. If you accept the premise that because it was successful, all Sonic games should be like Mania going forward, you are essentially saying that Sonic as a franchise is over. A key part of Sonic as a series. Guys, this is hitting me because you guys don't know the context, and part of me doesn't want to tell you, but I have to explain something. Let me look at the Metacritic score. Yeah, why not? What is it? Let me, so you don't have to stare at the like Google screen. It's a good point. Metacritic, Sonic Frontiers. Wow, it like was in my recommended. It knows. Let's do PlayStation 5. All right, let's put it on screen. It is currently at a 76, guys. How many reviews? 19 critic reviews. A lot of them are positive. Digital Trends, it's that same dude. Okay, so what I was saying here, guys, you don't know this, but I'm working on a video that's literally talks about this, and it's going to be uploaded like this week. And I've been like crunching on it, trying to make sure it's really, really great. Digital trends tank the score. Guys, I think I actually, since I agree with this one so much, I'm going to come back to it. I'm worried I'm going to run out of time. I want to read this one. I want to read this one. Sonic Frontiers Review. Sonic's latest adventure is one of his worst? See, I was afraid of crying, so let's get angry. Now, let's be respectful, guys. No need to dogpile, okay? But we can crack some jokes, you know. We can be funny. Let's be funny. Let's not get angry. Let's be funny. Sonic fans should be funny, not angry. Come on. It might be hard though. Let's try. 1 star. Okay. Sonic Frontiers is loaded with downright puzzling decisions, making it 2022's most bizarre game. Okay, cons, poor game feel, laughable story, busted collectible economy, frustrating boss fights, ugly graphics. What did he play on? Guess we'll find out. If I had to describe Sonic Frontiers in one word, it would be, huh? Okay. While not outright broken, okay, we already read this. It's a heavily misguided game that muffles good ideas with questionable narrative. Oh, that's too big. Questionable narrative. Where was I? Oh, geez, I went too far. Way too far. Questionable narrative. Technical and gameplay design decisions. Sonic Team continues to demonstrate that it's not quite sure what to do with the blue blur, taking a wild swing with a game that tries to rival open world games, but they literally made that distinction multiple times, rather than double down on the strengths of its newer titles like Sonic Generations and Sonic Mania, or older successes like the Sonic Adventure series. But having played the game, if you even liked Adventure, you should enjoy this. And Generations, the open world is basically just open Generations. And it even uses those level themes from Generations. And Mania, I am, yeah. If he left it at Mania, I would have got it, because it's clearly just wants something different. I've reviewed some terrible games this year, but none have left me as confused as Sonic Frontiers. Its jerky gameplay makes for a lackluster Sonic entry. Design problems lead to a mediocre open world game. It's not an open world game. And weak visuals don't even position it as a great current gen showpiece. I had a thoroughly baffled look on my face throughout the entirety of Sonic Frontiers' 20-hour runtime. And you probably will too. It's not unplayable, it's just unpleasant to play. So you see how the other review takes into account other people's impact? Right? They got 2 people, they got someone who cares. I don't get the impression that this guy really... He keeps talking about some terrible games this year, open world games. And the other guy has this like understanding that Sonic is like really unique, and this guy is clearly beating it for it being different. Because the games he cited are Mania, which is referring to older games, Generations, referring to older games, and Adventure, which is an older game. Okay. Sonic Frontiers' long list of problems begin with its narrative. Does it? Sonic, Amy, and Tails are all attracted to Starfall Islands. We know this. His pals and Knuckles. Wow, you really made that joke. Into a digital dimension that explores the island from there. Discovering that and his friends are trapped in cyberspace, and that an unstoppable force that wiped out an alien civilization may soon return. Meanwhile, a mysterious digital girl named Sage, who has a surprising connection to Eggman, taunts Sonic as he explores the world. Surprising connection? So why are you describing it that way? But you'd think the story sucks. Surprising? Isn't a good story have surprises? And isn't it good to have it connected to Eggman? We're stuck with a Sonic game narrative aiming to turn the cartoon series into something much more serious and not doing it well. This is I'm in the past. Remember what I was talking about? But why doesn't it work? I hope he explains. I get the sense that Sonic Frontiers wants to be a mature, somber game. Roger Craig Smith portrays Sonic with a deeper voice here. I need to change the music. This music's been going on too long. Not far into the story, it becomes clear that Sonic Frontiers is a game about death and moving on. Characters constantly muse about love, death, and if they've done enough with their life. Sad music plays over flashbacks to cutscenes you watched just hours earlier, and the game's final shot wants to make you cry. I mean, guys, I openly cried on camera, and like that's not how I experienced the ending. But again, check for spoilers. I mean, I am worried about the spoiler things. Like it's teetering, right? So maybe I should play on the safe side. I don't think we should do, no, we should not do spoilers. We're definitely not doing spoilers. It's teetering on it. Maybe there's a way I can kind of skip to his like end thoughts. It might not be as much of a technical mess as some other Sonic games, but that's not a very high compliment. Sonic Team tried to do something radically different with Sonic Frontiers, which is a respectable direction for a creative team to go in. But you're not being very respectable yourself. But the basic design decisions here just don't feel well thought out. Even if Sonic felt good to control, a plethora of other poorly executed issues would have held the game back. The best thing I can say about this game is that it's playable on PS5. That just sounds so insensitive. The only nice thing you can say is that it's playable on a PS5. Surely you must have known that someone was gonna enjoy this. Just be a little bit more like sensitive. I don't know. Okay, what's is Metacritic gonna like bounce around? Oh, it's in the yellow, guys. 73. Let's see if we can find a yellow review. IGN's review is a 70. I wonder if IGN would go into spoilers, would it? Oh, they have a video review?
Tears doesn't.
We can watch it. Let's watch it. Let me turn off the music. Where is my music? There it is. And I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I closing things? Okay, we're gonna watch IGN's review. And IGN, 70, I think IGN can get away with 70. Why his opinion matter to you? His opinion doesn't really matter to me too much. I just think that when you're a reviewer, you're speaking for the average consumer, and you're speaking for more than just yourself. And I think what reviewers tend to do is go, well, I'm me. I'm only me. So like, I'm just going to tell you what my experience is. But like, you're simultaneously belittling your role as a reviewer while also just like belittling the game. So it makes him look smaller. The game looks smaller. I don't get the logic. Right? Like, you should be trying to kind of see how people could enjoy it, because the game will be for some people. Like, every piece of media is going to be for different people. So reviewing media in general, you should be able to kind of like find a middle ground normally. And 1 star, 1 star is a little off, guys. You saw the chat at the beginning. You can go back in the archive later. Everyone was saying like 7, the lowest, 6, some people, but like 1 star. This guy clearly is like, he's just not into Sonic. I think you're just being salty because it was a bad review. I think you're just being, I don't know who you're talking to, Lonely Goob. I assume you're talking to somebody in the chat, actually. All right.
Sonic Frontiers doesn't limit you to a small, carefully curated menu of things to try. Instead, it takes the all-you-can-eat buffet approach, throwing new ideas at you from start to finish, without really seeming to care if they're fresh and appetizing or looking wilted and limp under the heat lamp. When I jumped off the starting line of the sprint across Sonic's first open-world game, I certainly didn't expect to play jump rope, duke it out with a giant robot, watch a dramatic origin story for an extinct race of beings, or do you know how to fish? I'll teach you if you want. But Frontiers kept me guessing, even late into the campaign, with what it would try next. Even when some of those ideas didn't work, I was almost always glad that Sega gave it the old college try, and as a result, I rarely found myself bored. I did find myself feeling blue because of the absurd amount of pop-in that happens every time this famously fast character does his thing. but Sonic Frontiers is, for the most part, a promising first attempt at blazing a new trail for the series. While you're working your way through Frontiers' chain of 5 Starfall Islands during its roughly 20-hour campaign, you'll uncover the dark and extremely predictable backstory of a long-extinct race while hanging out with Sonic family favorites like Amy and Knuckles. You'll also meet this strange new
I really hope it doesn't
named
spoil
Sage
anything.
and learn what her deal is in the most agonizingly slow way possible.
You leave immediately.
Since her main hobbies appear to be dodging pointed questions and speaking exclusively in vagaries.
If we are fortunate, it will destroy you.
With all of the different plot threads Frontiers juggles, they do end up feeling oddly disconnected from each other, and none of them offer a ton of surprises between their ungodly number of cliches concerning the power of friendship and ancient civilizations wielding advanced technology.
I got a sense of completion, comfort.
Weird.
But they do leave room for some really good moments between the furry cast of characters.
Never a dull moment with you.
In fact, Frontiers produces some of the most in-depth characterizations of the Sonic cast we've ever seen in a game. One part of the campaign hones in on the brotherly rivalry between Sonic and Knuckles, while another does a great job at building Tails up as more than just Sonic's sidekick. All of that more than sated my ravenous appetite for Sonic's usual anime-style nonsense.
This is designed to not have spoilers, though.
In between all of the fancy
should.
robot kicking and rolling around at the speed of sound. Sprinting through the sprawling open-world areas is, as you'd hope, one of the best parts of this odyssey. The islands you dash about on are suitably large playgrounds for you to test the limits of your road running, so long as you don't fall into water or lava that immediately kills you. My personal favorite new trick, though, is the Psy Loop. It lets you draw a circle while blazing a trail to create a tornado of death that impacts everything caught within it. This ability
Wait a
can
minute.
be used
Game Explain? Game Explain described the story as awful? Really? Awful? Metacritic? Let's go back to Metacritic. Apparently it's back at 80. No? Which version are you looking at? Maybe it's like on Switch it's different? Oh, the Switch doesn't even have anything. Xbox Series X? Nope. And it's not even out on PC. It is still 73, my friend. Lots of good reviews here, though. Mostly green. IGN's taking a middling stance. It's really just this dude. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it was a solid review.
abused to do damage in combat, solve puzzles, and even farm rings since it generates a few every time. Plus, literally running in circles around your enemies is just an incredibly Sonic thing to do, which is why I practically never stop doing it throughout my playthrough. What becomes clear after a few laps around the first island is that Sonic Frontiers is an action-adventure game that joins a growing pack of old-school series looking to reimagine themselves as open-world sandboxes. And in this particular case, it mostly works out. Just like Pokemon Legends Arceus and Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain before it, Frontiers keeps a lot of what makes the Sonic series beloved and unique, including some fun homages, but also throws in big areas to explore and fills them with a wild assortment of side distractions and mostly interesting new ideas. Not all of those activities are created equal, but it works overall just because of the sheer variety. One moment you're juggling robots like you're playing Baby's First Devil May Cry, the next you're trying to beat a time trial in a 2D platforming stage. And a minute after that, you're playing a game of pinball inside of an active volcano. You'll grind truly epic rails, solve extremely simple puzzles, do some puzzle platforming, and of course, catch fish. Because if you can't fish, does it even count as an open world game?
Yeah, the IGN review is good. 73 is still good, guys.
I saw glimpses of genius in this bizarre hodgepodge of activities. Sections called cyberspace levels smartly break up the open world by teleporting you into bite-sized, traditionally linear Sonic levels, where you're racing the clock and collecting rings as you mad dash for the goal line. On the other hand, one of the big things Frontiers tries that doesn't work well is combat. You're just mashing buttons to pull off simple combos and knock the snot out of faceless.
What I will say is, if I think the auto combo completely ruins the combat. I will chime in with my own opinion. The auto combo, like, I would dodge it. If you guys haven't played it, do not turn auto combo on. I mean, because then you literally just mash and the character just does stuff for you, and you're not. Part of what makes a fun combat system is when a character or like an enemy will go, nope, you can't beat me like that. You can't just mash. You need to do something different. And there's a lot of enemies in here like that that force you to do stuff like that. Though I think the worm is the one with the most variety. There's like so many different ways you can take out the worm thing. Or tower, sorry. Tower. I should have called tower because it's not even like a worm. Tower is the most fun. There's a lot of different ways you can take it out. But it's more like you're using the enemies to kind of pull off sick tricks, right? So it's not like you have to beat it in a certain way. I think enemies are just a way where you can make your run through the overworld look really, really cool. So if you do the right combos together, the way you take out the enemy is really stylish, and then you can like bounce off of different things and kind of Tony Hawk your way through the open zone. And so in a sense, like, the combat doesn't work like most combats would. Like, I would say that a lot of the enemies are too easy to take out. But if auto combo is on, then it's nothing. Like, it's literally just mashing. Everything happens for you. You don't really learn anything. And yeah, I would recommend keeping auto combo off.
Robotic enemies. I appreciated the occasional break from platforming, but since it never proves to be a challenge and throws you into almost identical fights again and again, I soon came to resent being yanked out of my lightning speed racing just to smack down another bunch of dumb toaster-looking fools.
I will say these enemies are my least favorite, because here, when you get surrounded by these things, you can't just like jump over this. They want you to parry all of the wolf things. But if you're like in the middle of getting somewhere and these things circle you, you think Sonic would just be able to jump boost over this. Like, just ignore these guys, ignore these fools. But no, it locks you in here. And I don't like the idea of being like locked into something like this. Because like a lot of the other enemies that you run into, like Ninja and Tower, it'll show you their title, like you're supposed to fight it, but you can choose to walk away, which is a really strong part of the game. This enemy, for some reason, you can't. You literally have to parry all of these guys before you can leave.
It's annoying when it comes to the mini bosses roaming the open world, who often dragged me into unskippable fight sequences that weren't particularly challenging or interesting.
You are a god right now.
The bosses that cap off each island,
Thank you,
which I
Twip.
will not spoil here, are far more exciting.
He's not spoiling. See? Guys, we're fine.
There are other things Frontiers has you do, like solving very easy puzzles that range from mildly amusing mini-games to completely brain-dead chores, or dipping your toes into RPG mechanics by gathering collectibles to raise your stats. These aren't terrible additions, but they also don't feel like they're entirely fleshed out. The upgrades in particular are a bit odd, since they do things like let you carry more rings, or increase your attack and defense stats by such minor amounts that they barely have an impact on gameplay.
I wouldn't agree. The upgrades do. Speed, I think he's referring to speed, and speed actually only upgrades your climbing speed, or your wall running speed. Which, you know, when you're really trying to style through the level, wall running speed, and you can pull off some really cool tricks if increasing wall running speed. Sonic Guitars, is that the real one? Dude, I will play your song on stream. The like all of them, really, but the Frontiers ones. If that's the real one, I love your stuff so much. Hey, Evan, you're talking to me like we know each other. I wish I knew you. I don't, but your stuff is so cool.
And said,
all right.
sure, why not? And threw every idea they could come up with into the mix just for the heck of it. The biggest shortcoming with this new open world design, though, has nothing to do with the buffet of mostly amusing activities.
So this point that he keeps making where it's like, oh, they just decided to throw every idea into it. I get the impression when I played through it that they were like, oh, the gameplay loop is great, but if we really want to keep the players on their toes, we got to throw in some mini games in there so that it doesn't just become monotonous. Like, there needs to be some variety. And so, yeah, the mini games do sometimes feel like, you know, I'd rather be doing something else. But, like, I think it's there for the sake of variety, and they're relatively painless. You know what I mean? They have difficulty to them for sure, but they're small hurdles to get over. You know, like, if you really bunker down and focus, you get through them. Like, I'm not extremely good at video games, and, you know, took a couple tries, and then I got onto the next part. But the difficulty when it comes to everything else, you kind of just glide through it. So those hurdles are welcomed. You know what I mean? I definitely welcome the challenge.
It's simply that Frontiers is not at all able to keep up with Sonic's godlike speed on a technical level. My immersion was broken about every 5 seconds when large objects popped into view right in front of me. Granted, that's sometimes hilarious, but it's always jarring and just plain ugly. Most of the time, it's a railing or platform that blips into existence a couple feet away from you, but sometimes it's entire areas of the world. For all of its amazing quick loading capabilities, the PS5 just couldn't seem to handle how
entire areas
fast Frontiers let me go.
He just said entire areas of the world, which, like, in that shot, I was expecting a whole mountain to appear. It's not that bad. It's just the objects. And I'm willing to bet that that's because when they were testing this game so much, they really tried to get the perfect balance between it being open enough so you can, like, move around freely, but not too full where you can't move around freely, but also so it's not, like, boring. So I feel like they had to tweak that after they already created the graphic engine, and what it, I think, amounted to was they needed a lot of stuff in there, and the graphic engine couldn't support it. But again, I would rather there be pop-in, but the game be fun, because the pop-in never affects the gameplay. The pop-in never affects the gameplay. It affects the immersion. I'm glad he used that word, though. It's still, I'm saying it's still a good review. I'm just saying where my opinion differs. Okay. I'm gonna finish this video, and then I'm gonna try to read the super chats that I got. So let me just
Whether I was
actually, while it's paused, let's check the Metacritic if it changed. It did not. It did not. I'm pretty sure that's the only one that's going to be updating today too. We're almost done this video.
playing in the 4K resolution mode at 30 FPS or the much more desirable 60 FPS mode, seriously, what are we even doing here playing a game this fast at any less? The pop-in was always a common issue.
Help me find the Chaos Emerald so I can beat up some big robots.
Here we go.
You'll be free and back to guarding the Master Emerald in no time.
It's a delightfully weird and experimental evolution of the Sonic games so many of us grew up with. Its expansive islands are filled with so much variety and pieces of Sonic history, from classic platforming stages to silly mini-games, that they're enjoyable.
Notice how this guy didn't talk about once the thing that all Sonic fans focus on with this game, which is the cyberspace stages. Didn't focus on the controls, right? He focused on the weird mini games that break up the pacing, in my opinion, but they are definitely weird, and they're definitely, like, last minute additions, but I think I would rather have them than not. So, and then also focus on the pop-in, which I don't think affects the gameplay at all. And also, I feel like a lot of these games have that. Maybe this one to a more extreme degree, but, like, I feel like that's because Sonic's fast. You notice how Sonic fans focus on the gameplay, like the control, the player controller? You know, Sonic being sticky to the floor, cyberspace controls, reused assets, level layouts. I can take all that. Like, a good review, in my opinion, will include those things, because I feel like the pop-in thing is like a reviewer of it's a symptom of a reviewer going, okay, I gotta review a lot of games this week, or a lot of games coming out. Oh, there's a problem. Let me write that one down. Like, a common problem. The pop-in is terrible, but it doesn't affect the gameplay. And it's definitely worth mentioning. I just wouldn't focus only on it. This guy is about to get to the verdict, and he didn't even mention the cyberspace, the reusing of assets. Right? That completely missed him. And the thing is, that kind of enables Sega to continue reusing and recycling assets, which I think is not good, because we want, first and foremost, a new product. And I think it's because we're Sonic fans. We know that they're reused assets, but I think if this guy was told that fact, he would feel more strongly about the cyberspace being reused as opposed to the pop-in. I think that would, take priority. That's all I'm saying. Not trying to say that the pop-in is not a problem. I would obviously rather it not be there, or at least fade in.
Able to explore even when awful graphical pop-in is a constant hedgehog spine in your side. Some of the new stuff Frontiers tries out, like the self-contained cyberspace levels within its open worlds, are fantastic ways to pack as much Sonic goodness as possible into one package, while others, especially combat, are uninteresting experiments gone wrong. Still, I largely enjoyed my time running around in Frontiers.
I really liked combat, and it's almost entirely optional. Like, it's really easy to kind of to get through the combat. So it's a good review, right? But like, I think there's still this one review that was making me cry is like the really good one. Like, I just hope this one doesn't spoil anything. This guy seems to care a lot, so I don't think they're gonna spoil. I trust this dude. Okay, I trust this dude. I can't play Vandalize. What's this? Oh, this is a good one. Okay, so what do I give it? I give it an 8 out of 10. I totally give it an 8 out of 10. Why don't I talk to you guys about my thoughts, since I kept interrupting the other dude. See, I don't know why this is like... Oh, wait, I said I was going to read super chats. Pop-in impacts gameplay. I missed things due to it. Well, I don't know what to tell you, dude, but I'm almost all the way through my second playthrough, and it never really impacted my gameplay. I don't know. I mean, it's different for everybody, but I found that the pop-in did not impact my gameplay at all. Even when I was like... I don't know. Like, I can see it, but like by the time I am close enough to it, it's loaded in and I'm able to react to it. I don't know. I never went like, oh, that darn pop-in. Oh, man. It was always just kind of a visual thing. It's like, yeah, that looks like crap. So, anyway, let's see. So my camera is not centered. I don't know why it's like synchronizing. Oh, wow. It's like merged to that. What the heck? Okay. It's got to be center. It's going to bug everyone. Okay. So, I mean, I basically made it pretty clear what I think of it. I mean, I could see how the pop-in would affect someone's gameplay, but it wasn't like, I don't know, like I didn't come up with other people that were experiencing it with me as well. It was always a visual thing. I'm trying to figure out how to access my super chats, because I think there's like a live thing. Hold on. New YouTube. Give me a sec. I don't want it to play my own thing. Does it not show the entire archive of them? That's so weird. Okay. So, Clemens Sonic 13 says, I'm about to cry. Not this again. This being what? What you mean? Play Gangnam Style? No. Sonic fans need to get out of the mindset there's a conspiracy to give negative reviews. Like, a 7 seems fair to me. I don't know what to say. Looks like a decent game, but not great. Well, I mean, the thing with my take on Frontiers is that it definitely is a lot more fun to play than it is to look at. The biggest weakness, in my opinion, is like the look of it, right? I really wish Sonic wasn't so sticky to the ground, and I'm not even talking about momentum, guys. Like, now that I've been through the whole experience, Like, momentum shows up in a lot of ways that you might not expect. But like, for example, those towers, those iconic towers with the little weird rings on the sides, there's wall running areas and you can run up them. But have you seen in most gameplay, right? If you run straight up them and get right to that ledge, Sonic will kind of like automatically pull himself up. And then you have to do a little bit of a platforming section to loop around it. And then there's another wall running area after you do a couple of tasks to get around. But if you jump a little bit before you get to that ledge, Sonic carries his momentum from wall running, and you can actually skip all of those platforming things. So there's this weird... Momentum does play a role, and of course the things you've seen before with where you're able to launch yourself off of steep inclines with rails, which again adds a Tony Hawk element to it. But again, the animation where Sonic's just kind of like flying when he does that doesn't look good, but the game feels good because you can experiment with Sonic again. Whereas before it was you kind of had to thread the needle, right? You kind of had to do what the level design wanted you to do or you die. And cyberspace is a lot like that, but hey, hold on. I'm not about to roast cyberspace entirely because I have some thoughts on cyberspace too. One thing, a lot of people's initial reaction to cyberspace was that it controlled like crap, and that's going to be subjective, but what I will say for people who haven't played yet is my take on it is that a lot of it feeling bad, and it's going to feel bad for you too if you've played a lot of Generations, it's going to feel bad because in the same way that Unleashed felt bad to me because I was so used to jumping and then pressing jump again to homing attack. Takes an adjustment, but imagine that happening, but there's like multiple different buttons that are in different spots. So it visually almost exactly resembles something you're used to, Generations, but your fingers have to actually adjust to the new control layout. This is something that first-time players or long-time fans aren't really gonna like be bothered by, which is why that IGN reviewer didn't talk about it at all. Right? But Sonic fans focus on the cyberspace being bad because it's frustrating to play a game, a speed-based platformer where you have to make really quick decisions, and it's frustrating to feel like the game is working against your muscle memory, right? As a Sonic fan, you want to be good at it. You want to be able to flex. That's the stage where you're supposed to flex. It's the action stage. You're supposed to like glide through the obstacles and feel like Sonic. And it's going to take a while for you to make that adjustment to really, really enjoy it, though the levels are too linear for me. I will say the cyberspace stages do improve as you go through. So I'm pretty sure the weaker ones are near the beginning, but as you go through, they actually do become more original and more interesting, in my opinion. Now, again, it's not so much like this. It's more like they get a little bit better, but at least, you know, as you go through, as you tire of cyberspace, and as you learn the controls, they get better, and so you continue to kind of improve, and it becomes less of an issue by the end of the game, in my opinion. Again, the focus of my issue with cyberspace will always be the reused asset. The reused assets, I read a chat comment that I want to respond to in just a sec. The reused assets and the reused level designs, which the reused level designs can be kind of cool, but again, we really want to see what they can do and experiment with the level design and Sonic's movement. It's not the button layout, it actually feels bad. So, like I started with, and I said it really quick, so I don't blame you for not remembering, so I will put further emphasis on it. Feeling bad is gonna be is a kind of, you need to explain a little bit more why it feels bad. Is this turning too stiff, right? Where do you get to the result of bad? Because when you say bad, it's subjective. Some people are gonna think that it feels really good. Like you're on the internet, you know, like there's just crazy people out there that have opinions on radically different things. And if we want Sonic to not feel bad, as you say, then it needs to be clear what the issue is. And I think, honestly, the main issue is that I think it's like stiff. Feels like Forces, but slightly better, not as the other Boost games. I would agree, but again, I would say, I think the reason it feels like Forces is because it visually looks the same, right? They haven't really tweaked the actual player controller feel. So I'm with you. I don't prefer the Forces feeling. And I wouldn't say bad, but I do not think it's the peak for Sonic, right? That's okay. Everything can be improved. The good part here is that it doesn't take the main focus, right? In Forces, Sonic's gameplay was, in my opinion, the best the game had to offer. Maybe the kind of avatar or the tag team stages were the best that it had to offer. But it was really difficult to control, and it didn't really have a lot of... The levels were too short, and the game overall was too short. And the game itself was really like... This is the one with, like, the story, but the story really didn't present itself very much differently than Generations or the games before it. It just kind of had a dark environment. It didn't really let us see the impact of the events happen on the characters, except for Tails to too much of a degree, right? I feel like Tails should take lead in Sonic's absence. It was strange. I don't know. But what I would say about Frontiers is the impacts of the events of the game actually affect the characters a lot. And every single character is changed by the end of the game. Whereas in Forces, by the end of it, it just feels like all the characters are kind of where they were before. And that is a approach. That is a choice. That is not a flaw per se. I just think that the reason people really liked Sonic stories is because Sonic was that kind of focal character, and he would be put into intense circumstances. The characters would react to it as most people probably would, and Sonic would be kind of this consistent, stable character that's like, we're going to be able to do it, and the characters learn something from kind of not worrying so much about what could happen, and they get through it together. Like it's just like a really simple, nice message, but I think it really hinges on the impact of the characters around Sonic to, by extension, make Sonic look impactful and, in the end, cool, right? An admirable character that you want to support. Let's see what the Metacritic's at. And I probably should change the song. Now, I mean, not everyone's going to agree with me, guys. So if people are being... I'm totally cool with you guys kind of keeping people respectful. If people are being disrespectful in the chat, you tell them they're being disrespectful. But if somebody's disagreeing with me, then let's hear it. Like, I think that's really important. So actually, let's give the floor to people who disagree with me, because I actually have to go really soon. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch more reviews. I will give you the update on the Metacritic score. It is still at 73, and my take on that is that I'm willing to take that. I think it's totally fine. Not a problem. Again, reviewers don't mean everything, and I know for a fact this game is not going to be a 73 for Sonic fans, for the most part. I can't speak for everybody, but it's just... It feels like that one review said, one step forward with its other foot firmly in the past. But hey, that's how you literally run. Okay. The issue is we ain't played the game, so we can't really counter argue the reviews or anything. Well, yeah. So a lot of people, yeah. So a lot of people. It sounds like somebody in here has played the game, right? The guy I was talking to before, that I believe donated, which thank you so much. I believe it was the super guy, sorry, with the Surge display picture. Mad respect. Surge is awesome. And they were saying that, like, Pop-In impacts gameplay, and you miss things due to it. I mean, that's not the experience I had, or the people that were around me playing it at the time had, but that's totally possible. I mean, the Pop-In is not good. I mean, some people care about critics. Continental Champ, I think, because if only Sonic fans buy this game, it'll be another failure, and we won't be able to get another game like it. In the end, like that other review said, it's a product, and so it needs to kind of expand outside of the core community. And so Sonic is split two ways. He's got to appeal to his fans, which is the foot in the past, but also appeal to new people, foot into the future. And I think that's really always going to be the way that Sonic is going to run forward. He literally will need to propel himself with his past to reach to a new frontier. I think it's always going to be like that. You know, it's just kind of physics. One of my friends got it early, and he is loving it. A lot of the people that I trust also feel the same way, Reed. It just seems to be... A lot of people are saying good, at least, you know? Good. And what we needed is a good game, guys, because after the hype of the first two movies, after the first movie, we had some questionable projects. I would say we had some questionable projects, and it doesn't look like any of them were bad enough that it would like damage Sonic's momentum. But we needed a good game at least, or a 73 or whatever you want to call it. We needed that because this is the new generation of fans, and I think they deserve a game like this to kind of start their journey. And I especially like how the narrative doesn't completely ignore the past. The Super Guy, 55 again. The game is more exciting as a foundation. I'm more excited for the possibility of a new game making these ideas more original. Original cyberspace levels, more unique open zone themes. Absolutely, I would absolutely agree with you. I mean, of course, I'm a content creator that covers Sonic news, and I've been waiting for a game that gets me excited about the future, right? There was always, it's seemingly this like limiter put on Sonic to kind of just make something safe, right? Or something that was realistic. And what that left me feeling like is that there was no excitement for what comes after. But in a way, I really do think Frontiers paid off in the excitement because of what you said, the Super Guy. It delivers on the new frontier of Sonic. Like, what is next? It feels like we have that answer, and I feel okay with it because honestly, I was saying this earlier, so I'll finally finish the point. The momentum thing, right? I talked to you about how momentum showed up in weird ways in the game. Well, I don't necessarily think... I'm thinking about it, right? And there's a lot of rocks that look a lot like ramps in the game. And you know... I was a classic fan too. I want to be able to spin dash and launch myself off that rock. But like, there's got to be a way they're making Sonic stick to everything, right? Like, and having played through Frontiers, it's probably just like they need to find a way to limit Sonic's movement somehow, so you don't just like skip everything, right? Otherwise, if you're never limited, it'll never feel like you have a chance to break those limits. And I think we can have a little bit of momentum, but like, I think I described this on a podcast I recorded yesterday. If momentum was at a level 7 out of 10 in Frontiers, I think I just need it to be dialed up to maybe like a 9, where in that it's more, and I'm not talking about like the amount of momentum you get. I'm talking about how inclusive or how much impact it has on actual gameplay, not how far you launch off a ramp or anything. Like, I think you should be able to launch yourself off that rock, but you shouldn't like slam into the ground it's just looks so bad, right? That's why people think it looks not fun. At the very least, Sonic, the programming should have it where Sonic can kind of like bound off the rock, you know, so it just looks nicer. Like, if you can just give me that at least, like, so he's just isn't jolting around the environment like that. Like, that's why the game looks that way. And like the running in the air thing, a lot of people tell me it looks like Looney Tunes. It's not like that. No, in Looney Tunes it's funny because there's an edge, they run off it, and then they like look and they go, oh, I'm not going anywhere, and then they fall down. That'd be funny if Sonic did that when he goes off stage in cyberspace or something, but it would have to be like stretchy and cartoony and expressive. Like he would have to like look at the camera like, and then like, and then fall, right? But again, you need animation for that. So I honestly think animation, the way it looks is the big takeaway. Because like, and if we all agree on that, right? How it looks just needs to be a little bit better. The way it looks, we won't have pop-in. The animations will be better. Sonic will bound off of rocks properly. If I had to take anything for the next game to improve, it would be that. Make the game look better to play. Look better. Just look better. That's it. And guys, this is in context of stuff I've been saying on the channel a lot. A lot of opinions out there on social media. And there's no question Sega's listening. No question. It is not debatable anymore. And how are they going to more effectively listen to us if we somehow agree on like something, right? Our division sometimes helps us, but at some point we need to just kind of go, okay, this is the thing. And I think that, in my opinion, that's what it is. Make the game look like it's more fun to play. Because it is, I feel like it genuinely is fun to play. But it needs to look that way, more so. And the best part is they have the foundation, so they don't have to focus on experimenting with the gameplay loop or any of that jazz anymore. Just make it look insane. You know? And, you know, there's still going to be people who disagree and pull in different directions. But, guys, just ask yourself, like, how do you think Sonic got confused about what he is? It's the tug-of-war. We're gonna have to give some stuff, right? We're gonna have to give somewhere. And clearly, I think this is a good place where Sonic can find a middle ground, right? Action stages could look more imaginative like classic titles. Momentum can play a little bit more of a role. Narrative has that focus again. It just needs to look better. The soundtrack is wonderful. I have to go, guys. I wanted to read more reviews, but I literally am 1 minute late to a work meeting. So I'm popping right off this stream, and I am going to work. So thank you guys so much for being here. Please continue to be respectful to each other, but you need to be able to critique the games respectfully. You also need to be able to hype respectfully, be understanding to each other, but also realize when you're doing the tug-of-war and find the middle ground. Honestly, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I guarantee you, people who love the game, there's something they don't love. There's something they don't love about it. And people who hate the game, there's something you love about it. There is. There is. Peace.